So today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite people in the world. That would be Charles Dewey Trowbridge. And there's some question as to whether he is Charles Dewey Trowbridge Jr. or Charles Dewey Trowbridge the first. I guess there was something going on where there was he had an older brother who passed away when he was just an infant. His name was Charles Dewey Trowbridge Jr. And then when your grandfather was born, he was Charles Dewey Trowbridge, and evidently the second. I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't really make any difference. He's still Charles Dewey Trowbridge to me. Someone that I love very deeply. My father-in-law. He was a veteran of the United States Navy during World War II. He was stationed aboard a destroyer in the Pacific. Think about that for a while. Dangerous job in the Pacific during wartime. And he was a machine gunner. Boy, can I see machine gunner in him. He always had wonderful shoulders, chest, arms. He had arms that were just muscly, just muscly, and I could see him with a machine gun. I could see it. Wonderful man. Give you the shirt off his back if you needed it. If you said you needed the shirt off his back, he'd take it off and give it to you. That's the kind of person he was. He always helped people. Repaired things for people. He was good at fixing stuff. And he would do that for people. He worked hard. He raised 3 kids with his wife, Joyce. I love those 2 people, my in-laws. A lot of people don't like their in-laws. Well, I do. I do. Now, I got some funny stories. Oh, gosh, funny stories. But I'll tell you the story about the very first time that I met your grandfather, great-grandfather, Charles Dewey Trowbridge. Okay, so this was back in about the early 1970s, and I was working as a secretary. Yes, I was a secretary. Typing, taking shorthand, did all that stuff. I worked for a large manufacturing company in the town where I live, and every morning when I would go in, I worked in a bank of secretaries' desks, and I was the last desk. So every morning when I would come in, I would turn on the light switches, which were right behind me. There was, a bunch of light switches, and I would go up and I would use my forearm here, and I would just go, and I'd turn all the switches on at the same time. And this one day I did that, and I burnt my hand right there, burnt my hand right there. There was a red mark, and it hurt from turning on the switches. So, I went to the electrical engineer, the head electrical engineer, who was one of my bosses, and I showed him, and I said, "Look, I got this just from turning on the switches, And he says, "Oh, well, we're going to have to fix that. I'll get somebody to look at it." Okay. So I went to the ladies' room because I was going to run cold water over that because it was burning, and that's something for you to remember is if you get burnt, run some cold water over it. Try to get that heat out so that it won't burn as deep, Now they got this miracle cream that you put on, and it's like stops the pain instantly. But anyway, I've had lots of burns over my lifetime. But anyway, yeah. So that's what I was doing. I was in the ladies' room running the cold water. And a woman came in. She said, "There's a man down there by your desk, and he wants to talk to you about the switches." I said, "Okay." So I go back there, and here's this man. Big, burly man, dark hair, And he's got a screwdriver, big, long screwdriver. And he's putting the plates back on. Like that. I went up to him and I said, yeah, can I help you with something? You had a question. And he turns around on me, he snaps at me, and he says, there's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with this. I don't know what the problem is. And I showed him my hand. I said, well, it's burnt right there. When I turned on the switch, right there, it burnt me. He says, well, I don't know what's going on, but there's nothing wrong with those switches. And then he stomped off. And that was my introduction to your grandfather, great-grandfather. And I just remember thinking, jeez, what a crab he is. Off he went, and I didn't even give him another thought. Didn't give him another thought. So funny, but he was an electrician there. And so then, I don't know, 3 years later, 4 years later, whatever it was, I'm going out with your Uncle Dewey. We're going to go out to dinner. We'd been out all day at the bar. Oh. And we were going to go out for dinner. He says, let me go home and change my clothes and take a shower, and then we'll go out for dinner. I said, okay. So we're going out in the country where they had a mobile home out in the country, and off to the side was a tool shed. No surprise there. And so the door to the tool shed's standing open. And Mike says, oh, I guess my dad's probably in the shed. You can meet my dad. I said, okay. So we go up to the shed, and Mike says, Dad, you know, this is Tina. We're going to go out for dinner tonight. And the man's standing there doing something. He turns around, and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and I went, oh my gosh. It's the crabby screwdriver guy. And he looked at me. And I can't remember if we said anything, if we said hello or anything. I don't know. I don't remember anything. But then after that, you know, I just went inside and waited for Mike while he was taking a shower. Talked to his mom, your grandmother. And I'm thinking to myself, holy cow, I wonder if that guy recognizes me. I didn't know his name or anything. I didn't know who he was. He was just the guy with the screwdriver. Was all I knew. So, anyway, your Uncle Mike and I go out, we have dinner, and we drink too much, and we do what we usually do, and blah, 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 and whatever. So, and I just always wondered if he recognized me. Now, my hair was real different. I mean, when I was a secretary, I had, you know, the makeup on, and I had the hairdo all perfect, and dressing very nice, in nice clothes and all of that crap. But once I left there, none of that made any sense to me anymore, and I just didn't even want to, you know, look like that anymore. So I let myself go a little wild, and hey, it was the 70s. It was the early 70s. Everybody was letting their hair down, so to speak. So, not to mention your Uncle Mike letting his hair down. Holy criminy. Those were the party days. Oh, yeah. Too much party. Not enough party, actually. Never enough party. But I remember Chuck as a very wonderful man. He, you know, we got along. In later years, we always got along. He always was very giving and helpful. Always very helpful. If you needed something, he was right there. If you needed something fixed, he'd do what he could to fix it, or find somebody who would fix it for you. That's what he was. He was a fixer. You know, he liked to fix things just like Uncle Dewey. But I just want to tell you that story of your grandfather, great-grandfather. Proud military service in World War II. Came home just like the rest of the guys. Got married, cranked out kids, boomers. And I just want you to know that I loved him. I loved your Grandma Joyce. They were great people. I don't know how I got so lucky as to move into this family. Well, he created a son who was wonderful, that's how. Yeah, he did. Created a son who's wonderful. But anyway, that's what I want you to know about your great-grandfather, Charles Dewey Trowbridge Jr. Just my thoughts, my comments, so that you know. A lot of you remember him. I'm not sure how many of the younger ones don't remember him. I think probably Tanner doesn't remember him. He was pretty young when Chuck died. The others, maybe they remember. I don't know. I hope they had some good times with their great-grandfather. I hope you all had some good times with your great-grandfather. Things that you can remember. He was a proud veteran, United States Navy. World War II, in the Pacific. Saw more shit than he should have, never told anybody. Just like most veterans. I'm going to talk about my other veteran pretty soon here. So, that's my video on your great-grandfather. And I guess we'll stop this one, and maybe I'll start another one right away. I don't know. I don't know if you guys are even watching, so we'll see you later.